Is Hugh Freeze really on the hot seat? The national media seems to think so.
You are Locked On Auburn, your daily podcast on the Auburn Tigers. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Yes, welcome on into Locked On Auburn, your daily Auburn Tigers podcast. I'm your host, Zac Blackerby, and thank you so much for making Locked On Auburn your first listen. Every single day, we're dapping it up with the Darrell Dapprich, Montgomery radio legend. We're down here in Mobile for the Senior Bowl, and we'll talk about some spring portal needs because roster construction is always going to be a huge topic, as well as several crucial games for Auburn this year that are going to impact the conversation that we're leading with today. And that is on 3, Andy Staples put out a list of coaches, big name coaches that are on the hot seat. And while he wasn't at the top of the list, Hugh Freeze was among the names listed by On3's Andy Staples, saying that he is on the hot seat. And I agree in the sense of if you think Auburn's going to go 6-6 or worse, sure. But I don't think that's going to happen. And so I do push back a little bit on, like, is that technically what the hot seat is? I don't know. Most coaches in this situation, if they go 6-6 or worse, they're on their third year, would get let go. So, like, is that a hot seat thing? To me, it's about semantics, and I don't know if I fully agree.
It's conflicting and confusing because Andy Staples, before this graphic, has put out 2 very pro-Auburn graphics.
I didn't even think about that.
So here's a conflicting message. The first one he put out was Auburn had the best portal class in addressing its needs, number one.
Right.
You would assume if you did that, the coach would benefit from thereby not being on the hot seat. Then he goes further and puts out his way too early top 25. How in the bleep does a team that he predicts to be number 11 in the country have a coach that's on the hot seat?
Right.
Unless you're Ryan Day and you're expected to win every year, or you're Nick Saban and you are finished 11th and everyone's mad. That is conflicting and a contradiction to me. And I should have, when I walked by him yesterday, asked him on the concourse at the stadium and said, dude, I'm a little confused. But it does seem to be polar opposites of each other. So let's say he didn't have Auburn in the way too early top 25, which we were done a show about. Or let's say he didn't mention Auburn addressing its needs better than anybody in the country. I could see this being relevant or having some legitimacy to it. You can, on one hand, think someone's going to be number 11 in the country and did the best job in the portal and think that coach is me on the hot seat. Now,
I think, well, hold on. I think 2 of those things can coexist. I think you can say, yes, Auburn addressed their portal needs better than anybody in the country, but also if Coach Freeze doesn't win games, he's on the hot seat.
I was just going to say that.
I do think those 2 things can overlap. But you're right. And I didn't really think about it from this angle, but Andy Staples just a week ago or so.
Just a week ago.
Said it was him and Ari Wasserman. It was there. And, who knows how much, but still to put him at 11, there had to be some agreement, right? There had to be some agreement. And to me, if you think Auburn is going to be good enough to be a top 11 roster in college football, like Hugh Freeze probably isn't going to be in a situation to be fired.
But you make an excellent point, and I was about to say it when you said it. I thought it to flip the script on that.
Yep.
If you do have a roster that has been absolutely injected with the best addressing your needs, and you go 6-6, you deserve to get fired and be on the hot seat. Sorry, you do.
I don't know if it was when you were on the show or if it was somebody else, but I did say, like, there is some irony now where Auburn has this much better roster. And even though Hugh Freeze built the roster, it does put more pressure on Hugh Freeze. But as far as, like, listing him on the hot seat, once again, this is a semantics thing. And when I think about hot seat, it's like, okay, if they really fall short, they get let go. And, like, once again, that's most places. But I think that's under the assumption that they're not going to do well. And so to me, like, if Hugh Freeze goes 7-5, is he fired?
Well, let's just be honest. You and I had a conversation off camera, we talked about it just casually yesterday.
Yeah.
You don't feel as good about the year coming up as I do. You feel like there's a possibility Auburn can be around 6 or 7 wins, and we'll do our prediction shows and all that. But right now, in the moment, that's how you feel.
Yep.
If that is the case, he absolutely is on the hot seat if that happens.
Yeah, but yes or no? If Auburn goes 7-5, is Hugh Freeze fired?
I think so.
I don't.
Yeah.
I don't think so.
I've kind of stuck to that whole, we've talked about this before, and I've stuck to that water level because I feel like 6 wins, 5 wins, and 7 wins over 3 years, averaging at that point 6 wins is not good enough. Mm-hmm. You got to get to that 8-win mark. I don't even think you need to win a bowl game. Do you go 7-5, go to a good, decent bowl game or a bowl game? Even if it's the Birmingham Bowl and win your 8th game, I don't know. That makes it a whole different situation.
Well, the decision would be decided before the bowl game. So I don't think the outcome of the bowl game should impact like the hot seat narrative one way or the other.
I believe, and I'll stand by it, and I could get ripped for this, but I mean, it's just my opinion. If he goes 7-5 with that roster, somebody else deserves to coach that roster the following year.
But they wouldn't. It would be a mass exodus.
Do we know that?
I guess we don't know that.
Let's just hypothetically say, and I, for the record, let me just say this, because I know people will lose their minds. I do not think Auburn will go 7-5 next year. I think Auburn wins at least 8, perhaps probably 9 games next year.
I would love that.
And you're not even, all this is a moot point. But for this, just for speculation and for the sake of argument, if he does get, if something was to happen and they underachieved and won 6 games, 7 games, and he got fired, DJ Durkin being promoted internally, I think would save a mass exodus.
So NIL is going to look totally different at that point too. So we don't fully know like what revenue sharing is going to look like. We've got an idea of it, and it seems like Auburn's ready to be competitive in that market as well. And so like for us to act like money isn't going to impact the decision of some of these kids. But yeah, if you were to promote DJ Durkin in that situation, sure. Is that
let me clarify though my stance on this, and I want people to lean in and listen closely. The original question and the original point that we were debating was, is Hugh Freeze on the hot seat? I am going to say and disagree with Andy Staples and say no, he's not.
I don't think he is either.
Because I fully expect him to at least win 8 games, maybe more with that roster, and I feel good about this team. So I say, predicting, looking into the future, no, he's not on the hot seat because they are going to win more games next year with that improved roster.
Yeah, and some of the names on here, like Brent Brennan of Arizona, like he's been terrible. You're an Arizona guy. I think you'll agree, right? That's been atrocious.
I'm surprised he made it out of year 1.
Me too. Yeah. Mike Loxley and Maryland. Okay. Sam Pittman in Arkansas. A little surprised he's still there.
He's been on the hot seat for 2 years, in my opinion.
Yeah, and it's not like they've done that well.
And that's a big hot seat. Go ahead.
And then you've got Billy Napier on this list too.
Who probably saved his job by winning 8 games, don't you think?
I thought he was incredible down the stretch last year. Like, I mean, you talk about a guy who wins a handful of games that you're not supposed to, and then you want to turn around and say he's on the hot seat. I don't know if that's entirely fair.
I don't think so either. The only way he loses his job next year is if they totally collapse and only win 4 or 5 games.
Yeah, but I mean, it seems like they finally like treaded water and got to a situation where they could have a breath for a second. So I don't know. The whole list, I don't know if I fully jive with it, but it's not our list. It's not our list. It's Andy Staples' list, and we're reacting to it. And he put Hugh Freeze on there, and I don't know if I fully buy it. They even put Hugh Freeze as the picture on the graphic, and he's the bottom name on the list. They know what they're doing. They know the passion of the Auburn fan base. They know what they're doing.
There's a term for that. It's called poster boy. He's the poster boy of the graphic.
Yeah. But there are there's a handful of crucial games that will 100% drive this conversation. That's next, right here on Locked On Auburn. Today's show brought to you by our friends at FanDuel. Darrell, can you imagine wagering anywhere other than with our friends at FanDuel?
No, I cannot.
Right now, if you've never tried FanDuel, welcome. You're late to the party. You can bet $5, and if that $5 bet wins, you get $200 in bonus bets. The Super Bowl, which FanDuel is the official sports betting partner of Super Bowl 59, I mean, it's props galore. Whether you bet on, the over-under for the time for the national anthem, or the coin toss or, what the first commercial is going to be. It's so fun. And you can do all of that over at FanDuel. Download the app or head to FanDuel.com to get started. Bet just $5, and if you win, you'll score $200 in bonus bets. That's at FanDuel.com. FanDuel is the official sports betting partner of the Locked On Podcast Network. Thank you so much for making Locked On Auburn your first listen every single day. So there are several crucial games on Auburn's schedule this year that I do think will dominate the whole narrative of is Hugh Freeze safe or not. And they're the wins that they're the games that need to be wins for Auburn to achieve what they want to achieve in 2025. And you start out the gate going to Baylor.
Crucial.
And it's if you lose that game, it's I have a hard time seeing Auburn dig themselves out of that hole and get to that 8-4 mark if you lose at Baylor.
It sets the tone, in my opinion, for the month of September.
It'd be really bad.
I'm trying to recall the last time Auburn lost a season opener, and it's been a while. Even those kickoff classics against Oregon and Washington, Auburn won.
Yeah, we won those.
And then you play the cupcakes, and Auburn won. So it's been a long time.
Was it 2012 against Clemson?
The Kyle Frazier game where, could be. Because they beat Washington State in Gus Malzahn's first year.
Yeah, 113.
They beat Louisville in 2014 or 15.
That was 15.
With Lamar Jackson. Well, Lamar Jackson was on the bench. For some reason, he never played.
He came in that
game. So it didn't start, So, it's been a very long time since Auburn has lost
14 was Arkansas, and Jeremy Johnson came in.
Went off in the first
half. And that's
half.
what created all the hype.
15 was Louisville.
Yep. So, I guess it was 2012 was the last time that Auburn's lost.
And look how that season went.
Yeah. And also just the setup. So then assuming you, I think if you lose at Baylor, you probably don't feel good about going to Oklahoma and to Texas A&M. And if you lose to Baylor, it's very real that you're 2-3 going into the bye week, and you've got Georgia at home on the other side of it.
And that's where it could start to go down.
It would be devastating. That Baylor game is so freaking huge.
Yeah, it not only for just wins and placement of where you are in the schedule, but I think psyche, I think belief, I think getting things rolling, all that stuff
both
matters.
In the locker room and around it, all of it.
I know that people sometimes underestimate how you play in a particular game and how it affects the rest of your season. But I know that in 2013, Auburn lost to LSU, but came storming back in the second half in a rainstorm and almost won that game.
Sure.
And didn't quit. And I think it propelled them. I think a game like this against Baylor, where you got a new quarterback on the road, a new season, you go out to Baylor and win against a Big 12 opponent on the road, and I think it sets the tone.
I think another crucial game if Auburn wants to achieve what they want to achieve at Vanderbilt.
Yeah.
You can't let Pavia just be your daddy.
You can't let him beat you 3 times.
He already kind of is your daddy. You need to prove that he's not.
Yeah, you need to make that an emphatic statement to do that in Nashville, where they had some big wins this year.
They did.
Is that a one-off? We'll see. I cannot see Auburn losing 3 times to the same quarterback. I really can't. I think it's going to be I agree, a very crucial game. And the optics of being 0-3 against him are horrible.
Yeah, it'd be bad. And that's not even all on Freeze. A lot of that would be on Durkin, like it was last year. Like it was Durkin's defense that slowed him down. But then again, the offense couldn't score points.
I think Auburn's defense held him. He had a horrible game against Auburn last year.
And he was injured too.
Yeah.
I don't think
Auburn's defense did enough for Auburn to win that football game if their offense would have done anything.
But but the narrative around it it'd be bad.
Yeah.
It'd be bad. And then the other one is Kentucky, just because I think that's a winnable one at home that you need to be able to do, especially, some people come at me in the comments I don't feel super great about playing Georgia or Bama at home. I'd rather play them at home than on the road. But if you do drop those, you need to win a few games at home. So I think Kentucky at home is a crucial one.
Yeah, it is. Auburn went to Lexington last year and won impressively. So I would expect them to.
Yeah, the Jarquez Hunter
I
game.
think the Arkansas game is more crucial to me than the Kentucky. I know Kentucky's at home, but Auburn has played really well at Arkansas lately. So, and not at home so much. So it lost last year at home. I think going to Arkansas could really be a beneficial and a big win for Auburn as well. And I don't think Auburn loses to both Georgia and Alabama. I think they split. Don't know which one they get the W, but I don't see them losing both.
I feel better about them beating Bama than Georgia.
Yeah, I mean, 2 years ago, I mean, they almost beat Alabama with a very, very inferior roster that year with Harsin. I mean, they had Tank Bigsby, I get it, but they started Finley on a hobbled ankle. And they could have won that game. The 2023 game, obviously, with Jalen Milroe. So, look, I think Auburn's roster will be better than it's been in the last 5 years going into that game. You're playing at home. We'll see what happens.
Yep. Auburn needs to address a few things in the spring portal. Might be a hair early, but let's go ahead and speculate. What do they need to add, and what do they need to move around in order for that to happen? That's next, right here on Locked On Auburn. Today's show brought to you by our friends at Alumni Hall. Can you imagine buying Auburn gear anywhere other than with our friends at Alumni Hall?
What an absolute collection and selection that they have. And you can go in person. There's, different locations throughout the state, or you can do it online. And it's a great place. From the time you can get little baby stuff all the way up to adult stuff, that's the time to kind of get them started out right.
Yep, absolutely. When I get back home, they've started to send me pictures. I'm going to put them up on screen for the YouTube. But right now they've got comfort colors, champion basketball shirts, cutter and butt polos, jackets and quarter zips. They also have champion fleeces and hoodies, and including like the shirtsies that are like jerseys, but they've got the basketball player names on them. I'm seeing some with Janai Broom, Dylan Cardwell, Chad Baker, Mazzara. So go head over. This is at the Tiger Town store. Or, of course, you can go to alumnihall.com. But 3 great physical locations, Tiger Town. There's one in Auburn on South College Street. And then there's one in Huntsville as well. So check them out. Give Alumni Hall some love. Final few minutes as we discuss the roster here on Locked On Auburn. It's an unofficial count, but it seems like Auburn is really close to 85 scholarships.
Right.
In fact, I counted 83, and that didn't include Tall Miller or Zacchaeus Walker. And we've been told since we did the show yesterday that they are on the roster. So if that's the case, I mean, you're bumping 84-ish scholarships. And we both think they need multiple defensive linemen. We both think they need a linebacker. And it's not some unlimited scholarship type situation. We're not in that territory yet where we're talking about the 105 scholarships. So what are you looking at saying, like, okay, like, there's no way Auburn goes into the season with the defensive line the way it currently is? I could see the linebacker one. I don't love it, but I could see it. But there's no way you don't add more D linemen. There's just no way. So where did the numbers come from?
You've got one spot left right now. If we're doing the math right, I think you're going to lose 3 offensive linemen in the spring portal, just because the numbers are so astronomically large with offensive linemen. So if you lose, I think you're going to lose probably 4 to 5 players overall in the spring portal, which gives you 6 spots. I could see them filling it with 2 or 3 defensive linemen, getting a linebacker, and then looking if you need to add one more spot somewhere else, whether on the offensive line, even though you've lost 4 or 5, and then maybe in a secondary. I can't imagine. I think Auburn will lose 5 and probably pick up 4 as you go into spring.
Hugh Freeze has said publicly that his number of scholarship offensive linemen is 16. And it looks like they're at 18 now. That's not counting Muskrat, who I guess is gone. But I do wonder, is there an exception to be made? Because you look at the guys who could leave after this season. Dylan Wade will be gone. Jeremiah Wright will be gone. Tate Johnson will be gone. Mason Murphy will be gone. They're all seniors. They're all out of eligible. And then Tall will be gone. Connor Lew, I'd be shocked if he's not prepared for the NFL draft 365 days from now. Xavier Chaplin, if he's as good as we think he's going to be.
He'll be preparing for the draft.
Yeah, right. I mean, I guess Auburn should almost hope that at this point. And like, that's a lot of, like, those are your guys with experience. Like, that's it.
Mm-hmm.
And so if you are discussing the future of this roster, like, how do you decide, okay, like, we need to kind of backfill this and carry more offensive linemen through this year because we're going to lose so many after the season. Like, I don't know. I don't know how you handle that.
Well, some of the freshmen that are in this class will probably be counted on next year to play significant snaps. I think DeAndre Carter, definitely you plug into a starting role. Perhaps a Dylan Senda, Seth Wilfred, who obviously came in as a JUCO guy that I think is going to be ready to play. So those are three guys that I would say, Braden Joyner,
Sure.
4 guys that you could count on to probably play in 2026. But then you're going to have to go get some guys that are ready to play right away.
Did you say Tyler Johnson?
I did not.
Okay.
We need to say him too. So I think that, you still got 4 or 5 guys that you look at and go, oh, yeah, that would make a defensive offensive line. I could see them being in the future.
Mm-hmm.
But then you're going to have to go out and do what you probably did this year and get 2 maybe immediate starters or 2 immediate depth pieces that are going to play significant snaps if you lose all the guys you're talking about losing.
Yeah, it's just a tricky spot. You'll have 5 scholarship running backs. I don't think that's happened since Hugh Freeze has been here with Omar Mabson coming in. Do they keep all 5? Are they banking on somebody leaving just because that's the nature of it? It doesn't really make sense. I don't know why if you're Jeremiah Cobb or Damari Austin, I don't know why you wouldn't have left in December. It doesn't make sense to do that not then and then do it in spring. So we'll see. Outside of that, man, like I don't see any receivers leaving. I guess if Rico Walker doesn't show you what you want and you bury him in the depth chart, he might leave. But then, I think you replace it with another tight end, though.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think that really helps you with numbers elsewhere. And, you've got a lot of DBs, a lot of young DBs. Does attrition happen there? And somebody who kind of gets buried on the depth chart just because of the natural competition of it all, do you lose one of them?
That's what I think will happen. I do think
there's so many, and it's you don't really want to lose any of them, but it doesn't kill you if you lose some of these guys.
I think from a wide receiver standpoint as well, if we were going to see somebody jump, they would have jumped in the spring. I think you've got, the Bryce Canes or the Perry Thompsons. I think they're staying put. Even adding Singleton and Horatio Fields, I think you're good. That's why I was
that pecking order's already set. I don't think that's the case for the defensive back.
I agree, and that's why I wasn't thrilled about the Jaden Thomas kid from Notre Dame taking a visit to Auburn. I thought it was going to cost Auburn one of its young receivers.
Yeah,
if he came on board. So I'm glad he went on to.
He was okay. I think I'd rather have our young guys.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah. So, let us know what you think down below. What does Auburn need to do? Because we're in agreement. You think 3 defensive linemen. I'm saying 2. We both say another linebacker. And once again, I'm okay if you want to put more pressure on one of these young linebackers like Elijah Melendez, but I'm a little lower on Xavier Atkins, the LSU transfer linebacker that Auburn picked up last month. I'm lower on him than most people are. I hope I'm wrong. I get it. I get the excitement about him because he's so dang athletic. He got buried by guys younger than him or the same age as him at LSU. And I feel like Auburn's young linebackers are just as good as LSU's, but could it be a new fit, a new scheme? DJ Durkin's a really good linebackers coach. I could see it happening. I need to see it.
The narrative changes for me a little bit at linebacker with Eugene Asante mentioning yesterday at the Senior Bowl DJ Barber's name.
Yeah.
See, I didn't expect that. So because he mentioned him as somebody that's ready to play, that changes my necessity or my urgency to get a linebacker a little bit.
Okay. That's a good point.
Yeah.
That's a good point. And then we all believe in Robert Woodyard.
He's another name he mentioned. So, yeah, and Riddick. So, there's 3 dudes right there that I think could play a lot of snaps.
Durkin's dudes.
DD.
There we go. DD, Durkin's dudes, Darrell Dapp.
It's all good.
Yeah. How can people check out everything you've got going on?
Follow me on X, Dapp6410, Instagram, Darrell Dapp. We've been posting some stories from down here. Always on Locked on Auburn with you, my friend, and then the post-game live basketball shows. Let's go.
Yeah, that'll be tonight. We're going to hightail it back, and we're going to be back to normal tonight as Auburn takes on LSU. Please like the video. Please subscribe. We'll see you next time. This has been Locked on Auburn.